You have a reparations bill that you've put forward. It's a state-based reparations bill, you know, getting to the heart of these systemic issues. Reparations have, I mean, if I could say it this way, it's become an idea that has become normalized in politics in so much that it's been put forward on the presidential platform as an idea,
sort of
this cycle as an idea.
Rhetorically, anyway.
Yes. But I'm saying it from, I think a lot of people outside of the activism world were starting to think about this in a deeper way. And I think it's really fascinating that you've put forward this bill and it's state-based. Could you describe what it represents and you know, what the significance of it would be in Pennsylvania in particular?
Well, so I think what people need to understand, because people are kind of like, if you do it on the state, then the federal government is not going to say, oh, our hands are clean because, you know, states are handling it. Not so. Everyone is culpable. Everyone is complicit. Every institution is touched by slavery and vice versa. But in Pennsylvania, it's important because a lot of people don't know or have forgotten that there was slavery in the North. That's including Pennsylvania colony founded by Quakers who are generally believed to be against slavery. Not so. We had gradual abolition that began in 1780, but the focus was on gradual. So there were enslaved Black people in Pennsylvania for 75 years after that law was enacted. And there were many things that were built into state law and policy and the court system that specifically and explicitly excluded and marginalized Black people for generations. And so even our outgoing Speaker of the House of Representatives on the House floor claimed he did not even know that slavery existed in his own state. And the fact that he could even admit this days before he resigned, someone who'd been in office for 20 years and did not know that there was slavery in Pennsylvania was utterly dumbfounding. And so these are people in positions of power. So when we talk about state-based reparations, we are acknowledging the fact that slavery was a state law. It was not a federal law. It was a state law. And every state dealt with slavery differently. So if you believe that slavery and all of the things that came after it, all the systemic racism that still remained after the abolition of slavery impacted Black communities and individuals on a transgenerational level, then you have to repair that damage. And if the government facilitated it through law, through appropriations, through all of these things, then what is that debt? What does that look like? Who is eligible? How are those programs created? Are there cash payments? Who is at the table to figure out what this looks like? So this is a complex process. The bill has not been formally introduced yet, but there's tremendous research that my team has begun to make sure that we do it right and use it as a blueprint for other states in the North, including, Nomi, New York.
Oh, shocker.
Where some of my favorite ancestors were enslaved in Manhattan. And there are a lot of Manhattanites who have no idea that, in fact, Manhattan was one of the largest slave
it was. That's why it existed. World. People don't even realize, the history of Manhattan, as opposed to other early cities in the colonies. Other cities were set up for freedom of expression of religion, but it was the slave trade route. It was directly from the Caribbean to the port of Manhattan, and that is how banking evolved. So when people say, like, what do you mean economic oppression is racist? And it's like, well, it literally is the design. Capitalism, the design of capitalism, the electoral system is all based on that. So much so that the sin of Manhattan is slavery. And Wall Street.
And Wall Street. All of those things are connected. And the people who owned my people were connected with the Declaration of Independence. So my ninth great-grandfather was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. A very, it was the 1% of colonial America, the Livingstons, who were connected to the Roosevelts and the Bushes and so forth. And they owned hundreds of people in the Caribbean, in New York and other places. And so this is personal to me as a genealogist and family historian, beyond just being a legislator. I've spent 25 years doing this research, and I'm connecting the dots and realizing how much of my personal story relates to policies that have impacted millions of people all over the country. So this is something I'm really looking forward to. I'm happy to update you about its progress, but things can happen. And the reason I was able to pass this bill of mine, this statewide police database, was because all the mass protests inspired a number of Black legislators, myself and others, to take over the House of Representatives. Literally, we shut it down. We commandeered the rostrum of the Speaker of the House, and we would not let them start session, which meant that our colleagues could not get a per diem, and that everything stopped. And we said, we're not going to give up the House floor until you push through substantive legislation that deals with police violence and police accountability. And within 90 minutes, we were at the negotiation table. Within a week, our bills got pushed out of the Judiciary Committee, and a week later, they ran unanimously through the House. Just yesterday, my bill left the House and is going to the Senate and should be on the governor's desk within a matter of days. And that is not because of me. That is because of the thousands and thousands of people across Pennsylvania and across the United States and the globe who are fighting for justice and demanding change. So for all those people who don't believe that protest amounts to anything, you're wrong. You're not on the streets. And if you are, then be affirmed that people are listening and following your leadership, because no serious social movement has ever been successful without mass protests. And that is what influences policy, not just the symbolism of monuments and statues, which are important, but ultimately we need to know that there's systemic change afoot because of the work we do on the ground floor.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Nomiki Show. Make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube and share with everybody on social media. And of course, if you're not a patron already, please join us on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for as low as $5 a month. That money makes a huge difference. We don't have the corporate money coming in. We're not cable news that's raking in the dough from advertisers right now as everybody's sitting at home and watching. It is really you guys who are keeping us together. So please consider being a patron. And for those of you who have already, we are incredibly grateful to you.